Okay, welcome. So up to this point, you should have hopefully done some debugging on PHPMyAdmin and MySQL. You should have two tables in one database. That database should be called CS230, and you should be able to insert rows, or also called records, into the users and the profile tables. So heading into PHPMyAdmin, it should look something like this. I don't have the error popping up here because there were a lot of issues this week. One, this lab is going to be somewhat more chill. And two, I also made another copy of my most recent VM environment for CS230. This has all of those bugs worked out, all the commands worked and everything. So PHPMyAdmin is all set up. You would still have to adjust things, any settings that you would want. But for example, like your hardware, when you import it, if you decide to import this, and you would also have to set up GitHub again, but that's about the extent of it. Everything else is debugged up to this point, as far as I'm aware. When I went to test out whether this lab worked, things seem to be okay. So as long as you follow along with this project, you should theoretically be okay. If you use that, or if you have done all the debugging and gotten those kinks worked out. So last week we added users. I don't have any users in here. I emptied it all out so that whenever you do yours, you'll start fresh. If you forgot what the password you used was for a particular user, that's fine. You can just go and make a simple one. I recommend something like 123. We're not checking for password complexity until this week/next week. We're going to be working on the login page. So I wanted you to get the sign up page done first so that you would have this kind of infrastructure set up so that when you go to log in, you actually have accounts to work with. Now, this is more or less what you're going to be working with here. So after this point, we're going to be displaying different kinds of pages and behavior based on whether someone is logged in or not. We're going to be working with what's called a session variable after this. Just like the post variable that you're used to at this point, or that we had some exposure to in Lab 3, where you click the button, there's all the information that's input into those fields like password and username, etc. Those go and get stored into this key value pair. Very similar situation with session. It's another associative array, which is, again, like a dictionary in Python or a hash map in Java. So key value pairs associated with it, and they carry through until someone basically closes out of their browser, and then the session is destroyed, or until someone logs out. Either way, you can destroy the session in multiple ways. You can think of it just it's exactly like it sounds. The session is how however long it's the time, and it's all the components associated with your time in this browser for however long that browser exists. So I don't have anything to sign into at the moment because you guys don't have a profile page yet, but we're going to build out some of the functionality. We won't have to build any more database tables up to this point yet. We're going to work with the profile database table next week, but this is more or less what you'll end up with. We'll have this little carousel going on here. This is another Bootstrap object. Yeah, you'll be doing a bunch of checking with their login. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, this is more or less what it's going to look like. Again, we're going to be bringing in this header class, so that'll give us our nav bar and save us on a bunch of programming for that. There's no starter files this week. It's relatively straightforward. It's login.php page. We're going to have another login helper. We're going to have another helper class in our includes folder right here. It's going to look a lot like this. Again, we're going to be doing a bunch of checks and everything. We're going to be verifying the password, make sure that it's the same. And we're going to have the CSS that's associated with it. So there's going to be 3 pages this week, and you guys are going to do all of those. It's not going to be too complicated, or it shouldn't be. So we're going to be able to copy and paste a lot of stuff from our signup because we're going to be using a lot of the same fields. We're just going to be calling them different things. So anyway, just head on over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a signup helper, or sorry, a login helper, my bad. Login-helper.php, and that's going to go in our includes folder. Make sure that it's in your includes folder. You can tell it's in there by collapsing this, making sure that you can't see it. Just click somewhere in like the rest of this pane right here, and you'll be able to put stuff in the root folder where the signup.php page is, and that's where our login.php page is going to go. And then for our CSS page, we're going to click on the CSS group right over here. I tried increasing the size of the font. This stuff doesn't get increased, but this is size 20. I'm not going to be increasing it any further. It's already like big enough that I could be blind and see it at the moment. So, yeah. We're going to add a login.css page to this. And we'll get going with the code in the next segment.